encouraging people to make space for God in their lives and resting in the truth that God is actively pursuing us all.
Constantly asking ourselves the question, are we doing our part to pursue Him?
We are Monique and Aaron, and we are attempting to communicate God's truth in a bold, unique, and honest way.
By clearing the air and learning to breathe and realizing that the yoke of the Lord is lighter than you think.
So welcome to The Clearing Space. Welcome to our very first inaugural podcast
Yay!
Of The Clearing Space. I'm Erin Kincaid.
And I'm Monique Herrera.
And we are the girls, the gals, the moms, the career women that make up The Clearing Space. And we're so excited to be here with you and to tell you about it and to dream with you and just get ready to help make space for God in your lives in a way unheard of.
That will be so exciting if we have many, many women join us along in this journey of intentionally making space for God, recognizing that the heart of God since the beginning of time, since the Garden of Eden, was in total pursuit of us. His intention initially was to dwell among us in the garden, and He has never been satisfied with anything less, and so much so that He was willing to go to send His Son to the cross to die for us so that He can not only dwell among us but within us, and that's exciting.
And if you can hear our surroundings, we're not quiet. This is at 6:30 in the morning with a scheduled time with God. We actually chose one of our favorite eateries. Our bellies are full. We've got tea and coffee in hand. And this is our space, just a great space to collaborate and to dream up and to think about what God's doing right here in our real lives, right in the middle of the day, right in the middle of our community. And we love that we're here in this kind of a space and that we're able to take God to the streets and let people hear us talking about Him. So wherever you are listening to this podcast, maybe it's your style to curl up in your war room chair, or maybe it's your style to do it in the car and listen through your car speakers. It's your style. There's no limit, there's no structure, there's no prescription to time with God and making space with God. And so you might find us in all kinds of spaces. You might find us even singing in some of those spaces. And acting out funny things that we've heard. And we're just going to be as raw and as natural as possible and make sure that you understand that in this time, it's your time with God. And it's not a prescription or a set of things you have to check off on a checklist.
Mm-hmm. I love thinking about spending time with God, and maybe that looks differently for each person because we are created uniquely, and none of us is going to do exactly the same thing in exactly the same way. Even connecting with God, I am one of those people that loves to curl up with my blanket. It's a heated blanket, actually. Keeps me very warm. I love to set myself up so I can look out my window and reflect, and maybe I'll even set some music in the background that doesn't necessarily distract me. I actually can't listen to worship music when I'm spending time with God because I just worship, which is great. But when I want to hear new voices or new ideas, new concepts from Him, I have to turn off the worship music. But I do put on focus music. But it is awesome to recognize in the midst of all of this noise and all of this life, the speeding cars passing us by, that God is still speaking. He is still speaking, and He is still being intentional about seeking us out. And I just love stopping and thinking about that.
I love thinking that every person in this room is loved.
Yeah.
Every person in this room is desired and sought after by their Creator, even if they don't know it. I just think that's such a great grounding place and a really cool space to be in for myself to remember while we're called to this ministry and to minister to you at home or in your cars listening to us. The people around us need ministering to as well. And so just a wonderful chance to have this space be something a little bit unique and all our own.
Yeah, recognizing that God is big. He's bigger than our natural concepts. He's bigger than anything we can perceive. So it's awesome to think about Him and how big He is.
So let's have our listeners hear from your heart on what are our goals with The Clearing Space and why. Let's start with why The Clearing Space. What's the name mean?
So once upon a time, I was actively seeking out the Lord. I remember this day very clearly, just putting everything else aside, all of my other responsibilities, and carving out time to not only seek and listen to Him, but go and find Him physically. So I went to a park, and I went to a very large park, and it was a very crowded park, a lot of woods and a lot of animals and a lot of people walking their dogs, and it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And then all of a sudden, after an hour of walking, it was a big park, and into the heart of the park, I found a clearing, and it seemed to suit me just right. So there was just an open space where there wasn't any trees except for wrapped around it, where I could just be, and I could be by myself, and I could listen for the heart of God and experience him. And I just, right in that moment, God just gave me the heart to create a clearing space. And he taught me that morning that you have to be that intentional about seeking me every time you go to seek me. So every time you're looking for me, it's going to take effort. Every time you're looking for me, you're going to have to give me priority. Every time you're looking for me, you're going to have to do some physical endurance or some sort of, you're going to have to keep seeking me. The Bible promises.
Some elbow grease.
Some elbow grease,
Yeah.
That's good. So the Bible promises that if we seek him, we will find. If we knock, the door will be opened. So I think I was just in this habit of thinking, oh, he's just right there, right around the corner. And he is, but it takes my soul longer to quiet itself so that I can hear him and observe him and then listen to what he has for me.
So we'll be talking through, I don't want to say ways to expedite that, but because we don't want to be a 10-step list of getting closer, but
Right.
we want to talk about our experiences, and we will be talking about our experiences and how we have sought after God with veracity and with energy and with focus so that we can make sure that we can come into his presence and be ready for what it is he has to share with us.
Yeah, we really want to encourage everyone listening to be intentional, to recognize that God is intentionally looking for you and looking to spend time with you, and we need to do the same. We need to do the same.
Absolutely. I'd love for you to share our vision and mission statements because it is such a gift from God for us to be able to do this and to be here in this capacity. And I just think that once you hear the vision and mission statement, listeners, that you too will be moved to the places that we want to be able to go with you.
Aaron and I will be attempting to communicate God's truth in a bold and unique and honest way. That's the challenge for each of us, that we're both bold women. That's not going to be difficult. And we are unique. We wanted to put in like funky fresh, but we're really not. We're over 40. So funky and fresh doesn't necessarily
And it
describe
probably
us.
dates us more than we... Do they even say funky and fresh anymore?
Maybe if we have an 80-year-old listener, they would think we're funky and fresh. I would love that. And welcome to you if they're out there. So we're going to stick with unique and honest. And we will constantly be pushing ourselves to that place of honesty where intimacy can develop over time as we begin to hear from you and what your concerns are, what your heart is, and how we respond to that. And then our vision will be encouraging people to make space for God in their own life while resting in the truth that God is actively pursuing us all and asking ourselves every day or each moment or however often you need to ask yourself, am I doing the same? Am I doing my part in this journey with God? Really want to be careful here. We want to reach out to people that, yes, have a relationship with Jesus, but we are so open to people that don't have a relationship yet. They're just in that discovery. Maybe there's enough people in their lives that have this relationship that they want to know more, and so they've tuned in to listen, to find out more. Thank you so much for giving us that space. And you're already making space for God by making space for us, because he's going to use people like us in your life to show himself to you. And we're excited to be a part of that journey with you. So we just want everyone to feel welcome no matter where you are in the journey.
Absolutely, and you'll hear that vision and mission statement at the beginning of every single one of our shows because it is a part of our opening jingle. We chose that music very specifically so that you're ready to clear your head and maybe clear your schedule for a bit if that's what it requires, to have some time with the Lord and have some time with us. But we'll be reminding you of that vision and mission statement because it really is not just what we're about, but it's the goal in which we're headed as well. And we hope to keep ourselves to high standards every moment that we're with you and teaching you and learning from you as well. How would people get a hold of us if they've got specific questions or they want to give us feedback from what they're experiencing?
That's a really good question, Erin. I'm excited to say that theclearingspace.com is available to you as a valuable resource. Feel free to email us at theclearingspace.com, and we would love to hear what your thoughts are, all of your feedback, positive or negative. We're ready to learn.
And before we wrap up, never want to leave you empty-handed. We always want to remind you and take you back to the throne of God. And so Monique has some scripture that she wants to share with us and just help us focus on over the next few minutes. as we begin this journey together.
This is exciting news because this isn't another task that you have to add to your list. This is a great reminder that His yoke is light, and with the burdens that we tend to put on ourselves are very, very heavy. But in Matthew 11:28, verse 28, it says, and Jesus is speaking, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light."
Isn't that a huge piece of scripture for us all to take on? I don't care what's going on in your life. You always need to know that Jesus is there to take on some of that pressure and that pain and that bearing down that we feel on a daily basis, that baggage. I love knowing that the Lord is right there, willing to take that on. And every time I think about perfect love, that's what it looks like right there. Willing to take on all your junk and carry it for you. Not just help, but carry it for you.
I love life coaching, and I just love great questions. Great questions help me to keep thinking. And so I think the natural question that this verse begs us all to answer is, wow, if His yoke is so light, then why is my burden so heavy? And for many of us, that's where we're at today. Maybe some of you're thinking, no, Monique, my yoke is so light, I'm good to go. But if your burden is heavy, ask yourself why, and try to discover before next time what it is that you can cut out. What lie is it that you're believing that actually is causing all of the weight for you to bear?
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure being here in this moment with you. Can't wait to see you again next time. And thank you for joining this journey to the Clearing Space.